Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
Cosima, it's a pleasure to chat with you about your documentary regarding Andrea Bocelli. This is such a fascinating film, and we'll give obviously the official title because I'm Andrea Bocelli, because I believe in cinema on September 21st. This man's life, from a soccer accident to one of the world's greatest tenors, has been short of fast. It has nothing excuse me, I'm flabbergasted because I'm so excited to talk to you about this, in the fact that he's still that country boy. He's toured the world. He's been everywhere. He's performed in ancient ruins, and yet he still wants to ride horses on the family farm.
I mean, it's incredible. He's got an epic story. And I really wanted to just tell that simple story and have him telling us, because in his own words, because we all see Andrea Bocelli on the stage. He's well known everywhere. They know him, South America, in Europe, in Africa, everywhere. And yet, and he does a lot of press, but we don't really know what he's like off the stage. And he is inspiring because actually he's so faithful to his values that he had instilled in him whilst he was growing up in this rural area of Tuscany, where actually I grew up in that rural area as well. So we could really relate in many ways. And he was very at ease because we spoke in the same kind of dialect in Italian. But he is totally committed to stand by those values of treating your friends or anyone well as you'd like to be treated, and also to embrace the gifts that life bestows you, whatever those gifts are. So it doesn't really matter that he's visually impaired. He has been given this great gift, which is the voice, and he sees it as his responsibility to look after that voice, and he really works at that, but also to share that gift with everyone around the world. And in this film, he has the chance to really show us who he is. And he is quite an inspiring person. So
No, absolutely. And for those of us that have all our senses, we should be ashamed of ourselves that we don't put enough effort into life.
yes, and in some ways, because we have all our senses, we are not actually focusing on things which are maybe important, or maybe we get distracted by all this visual stuff. And he's someone who's really feeling a room or sensing a room. He's sensing it, and he's sensing what people are like, and he's hearing it, and he's living this parallel world of sounds, of music. Music in his house just is part of everyday life. It is life. I mean, he's living for music. Music is his world. And he's constantly singing, even coming down the stairs.
There's a moment early in the...
Yeah. He's always
There's a moment...
He's just suddenly comes down the stairs and like, ah! I mean, I won't do it because I have no voice, but as a crew, we were like, ow! When you're there filming close up with someone, I mean, none of us not many of us have the privilege of hearing a tenor practice a meter away from you. And whilst we were filming this documentary, I mean, I've never seen a Roman crew so respectful, because, the Romans, usually they want their coffee, their pizza, 11 o'clock, they want a break, it's like the days are too long. No, we were all in awe, because the actual force when the voice hits you, something tangible that you actually feel. And, none of us are on stages there. We go and hear these singers, but we don't know what it's like to be close to them when they have such a voice. You actually feel it, kind of hits you in the face. And that is extraordinary. I mean, yeah, it's a shame you can't actually feel that in the cinema, but I suppose when the sound is really cranked up.
But you still get remnants of it. You got a private concert. We got to experience it from the audience perspective.
Yeah, in the sound mix. Maybe we should tell the projectionist to put the volume even higher so that people really feel the voice. But it really is true. You feel it. And, he has these extraordinary senses. He can tell when he's walking around what's in front of him, if it's a wall, or if it's a plant, or if there's water, he can tell from the way the sound of his shoes hitting the pavement. If it's a quiet surrounding, the echo and the speed of the echo and the quality of the echo coming back to him gives him information that through experience allows him to sense what the environment has. All through the way the sound comes back to him, the information of that sound. So who's impaired actually? Because he has this extraordinary sense and we get distracted by lots of things. I'm looking at you, but actually I'm quite distracted from the background you're in and this, you know, but he just
It's better than the
senses.
blank wall behind me. So, yeah.
But he senses people, he senses the energy, he really listens to conversations, and he can tell who's entered the room, what kind of aura they have just by the way people are reacting. It's very interesting. I came away thinking he's not lacking something. He has something, not just the voice. We're the ones who are kind of missing something here. We've lost it. We've lost that sense that maybe we had at the beginning of our lives, but he's cultivated it.
Well, it seems like he has better vision than the rest of us. But as a filmmaker, you know, you always discover something about yourself when you make a documentary. What do you learn about yourself when your subject matter is Andrea Bocelli and he's living a life that most of us could only dream of because either we had self-doubt or we didn't have that discipline, or, you know, we just didn't have the faith in ourselves and our abilities to go as far as he has?
That's it. You have to have, first of all, it's good to have a dream. Second of all, you know, when I was younger, I was always told, you're such an idealist, or, you know, you just, you know, one boyfriend split up with me saying, I don't understand you. You've got your heads in the clouds and your feet are, yes, on the ground, because I've got this mix of pragmatism and idealism. But actually, it's not wrong. And Andrea Bocelli also has these dreams and this self-belief, and you have to have self-belief. But it's not easy, isn't it? We get bombarded with inner voices which really challenge our self-belief. And it takes... He was a lesson on how important it is to stick to values, to have self-belief, to focus on positive. And all of those things that I suppose with mental health, we are becoming more aware of them. But he's the embodiment, you know, he's doing that every day. He's not letting his situation ever get him down. He's always focusing on the positive, and he's always making the most of life and the opportunities that it gives you. And he's sharing this gift, because we all have gifts when we're born. We all have something that's good in us that we can share. So he's really maximizing and sharing what the gifts that he was given.
You know, his son Matteo is going to be performing here in December, not too far from my home. So the talent continues in the family. And one of the scenes where he's interacting with his granddaughter and just sharing a moment, and her
His
asking
daughter.
him, that was his daughter, I'm sorry, you know,
Yeah.
and sharing that experience with her in, you know, because she's asking quite prolific questions for somebody that's 8 years old.
She's 11 and she's extraordinarily clever and very talented and has a lot of his musicality. And I did give her some of the questions, because I wanted to, because he's so sweet with his child, you know. And sometimes when he interviews with the media, you know, he's done it so much and he's brilliant at it and he gives you the soundbite. But I wanted to capture something different as well, something which was more private and more personal. And also some questions I was a bit scared to ask him myself. So I thought, just give them to Virginia. And Virginia is really clever. And she's also an actor and she's a singer. She's only 11 years old, but also she's totally not, there's no, you know, maybe I was the beginning of the filmmaking process. I was, you know, a bit shy to ask certain probing questions, but she had no, and I asked the mother, isn't it, what kind of questions? And these are the questions I'd like Virginia to ask him. She goes, yeah, that's fine, go for it. So I wanted to capture that sweetness and that candid and openness that he could only really communicate while speaking to his daughter. So yeah, we did a series of interviews. Some were just me with him, and we did a lot of those, and some just audio and some with picture. And then the Virginia scene, and I love that scene because it follows from him having just done a kind of press interview for the national TV about the coronation with the king. And I wanted to show how the public side of him as well as the private, and how he could navigate, you know, this very formal interview, and he does it brilliantly, but actually his heart is with his family, and that's what he values. He values his relationship with his children and his family and his friends. You know, he knows what's important in life.
From watching the documentary itself and feeling all that from him, it also makes me think that a lot of us are doing life wrong. We're too focused on chasing the dream without pulling back and going, okay, this is my work persona and this is my home life. And somehow we've conflated the two, that if one doesn't indicate the success that we desire, then the other one becomes our failure. And he's proven that you can have both in this.
Yeah, and absolutely.
And that he'll still, yes,
and actually,
legend, but he can still go home.
Yeah, and actually those human relationships are the key to your success, because if you have that support at home and that love and that sense of belonging and mutual respect with everyone around you that is your personal life, then that's going to help you even in your professional life. But I agree with you, there's maybe in our society there is a bit too much emphasis, and you think you have to sacrifice the personal for the professional. And yet it's hard to get the balance, because to climb up that ladder, the professional ladder, you have to put the 10,000 hours in, don't you? So it's, but in a way, the fact that he became known age 30 had given him a really good grounding and solidity. And he'd invested so much time in those personal relationships, and he did not let success get to his head. And that's the key. He knew that going back home, going constantly back to his roots, is actually the key to his success, because that sense of belief and belonging is so important in each and every one of us.
Yeah. And I think there is something to be said about that delayed gratification instead of instant success. It was the slow burn and the buildup for it that would help in a situation like this.
Yeah.
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 As we quickly approach September 21st and it's coming to theaters, and the experience in surround sound is going to enhance it even more for the viewing audience, whittling this down to roughly an hour and 45 minutes, to sit there and from all the experiences that you shared, was there one moment where you said, this is it, we have it, we're ready to present this to the world? This, one scene where it becomes the zenith of the film.
I think during the filming process, I had that moment quite a few times. Whilst even he was just practicing his music, I knew that sense of how important music and how alive music was. I felt like it was capturing that, because it is. I also love the moment where he is sharing the stage with his daughter, Virginia, in Madison Square Gardens. And he's just been really open with us about how he tackled his anxiety, his stage fright when he was younger. So you've just been alone with him in the kind of backstage of Madison. And then Virginia, who's 11 years old, is about to perform with him, Alleluia. And she is so nervous. And in a way, she's an echo of how nervous he'd been before. And we had this great documentary moment of capturing the nerves of stage fright in an 11-year-old girl who, of course, she's used to going around the world and seeing stages, but this was her first big performance at Madison Square Gardens, and we captured the nerves and the kind of slight stage fright. And she goes on that stage and she nails it, and he's so proud of her. And he's so funny. He's like, oh, I was so relieved. She could share half the song, took so much weight off my shoulders, and she just did it. But, to capture his gentle support of her and belief in her that she could do it, And then she comes off the stage and she's conquered that fear. And you know, when you're young and you're going through life and so many situations seem scary, and then you have to just throw yourself out there, and then you overcome your fear. And that's what growing up is, and that's what life really is about, isn't it? So I really enjoyed the Madison Square Garden sequence.
I will give one tiny spoiler because it's early in the film, so it doesn't just take away from the narrative. But when he's discussing the concert, explain to his daughter the concert with the three tenors in these ancient ruins and how this was such historical significance, and he's about to perform there, but yet he's still in awe of Pavarotti and like almost doesn't see himself at that level and feels like not the successor, but like lucky enough to having been in their shadow almost. And I think that kind of set the tone for everything for me with the documentary.
Yeah, and the pressure, and also the legacy of trying to, it's as if these three tenors, there's so few people of that stature that can reach the audience that Andrea reaches. And it's almost like he feels it's his responsibility to pass all that on to the next generation, to his daughter, or to everyone around the world. The opera is such an ancient tradition. It used to be open to everyone. It wasn't a kind of elite. You didn't have to spend a lot of money to go and hear it. It was there. It was, it was the original pop songs for those times. And he really feels I don't think it's the burden, it's the privilege to be the one who's carrying the torch onto the next generation. And he really wants to do that. He wants to pass on the passion. And I'm sure he has opened up people's eyes all over the world to that genre of music that naturally they wouldn't have listened to if it wasn't for him, for his pop songs. So it's almost like the pop is a way in to get the audience for the opera for him.
If there's one lesson you want or if one conversation that you want the audience to have walking out of the theater on September 21st, what would that one conversation be based on what you've presented to us?
Really, it's about self-belief. It's about dreaming, self-belief, optimism, and, being gentle with the people around you and with yourself, and feeling good with yourself and the people around you, and enjoying life.
Thank you so much for today. Andrea Bocelli, Because I Believe, in theaters September 21st. Cosima, it's been a great pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure for me.
Do you also have a social media that we can follow you on so we can connect about the documentary?
Yeah, it's my name on Instagram. Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for presenting us with this documentary.